Hey everyone, welcome back to Dinner Church Reunion Network. Our study, our conversation, our look into our culture statements as a network. And this is our last one.
Woo!
This is the final episode.
No, it's been good. It's been good
really
with the
good.
two of you.
Good to have you, Mel.
Great. Yeah, it's been great.
It's gone way better than I thought it would.
Woo! Wait, whoa. Wait a
Compliment? Not so much.
Special guest cameos, Moose and Pippa.
That's right. And maybe we should say this isn't your house.
Yeah, maybe our dogs won't make noise in this episode, but we'll see what happens here. This week we're calling Biggie Smalls, talking about small things that become potentially big things in the kingdom of God.
Okay.
I just love the loose hip-hop reference.
I thought you were talking about Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
okay.
So Planter is a culture of multiplication. This is how we describe it. We dedicate ourselves to natural, healthy growth and expansion while embracing intentional, ongoing relationships. So looking at the parable Jesus told in Mark chapter 4 of the mustard seed, which is, if you've been around church for a while, it's probably something you've heard before, or maybe it's a brand new thing for you. So we're going to talk a little bit about it and then throw it to you folks to have some more conversation and thinking. So, Dean, you want to kick us off?
Sure.
What jumps out? What do you think? What gets you going?
Yeah, I love the parables. They're these if they're new to you, they're like simple little like anecdotal stories that are often rooted in just like everyday life.
Right.
And you might remember high school where it's like a metaphor is like comparing something without using like or as. So you speak as though something is something, right? The ocean is love, blah, blah, blah. And Jesus teaches this way because it's so tangible for us to like get our hands on. And I think the beauty of this teaching method is that it's everywhere in the world. Like you can just look out and say, the kingdom of God is like this. And so I love these little parables because I can just imagine Jesus out with his disciples. They're walking through the countryside or on their way to lunch or whatever it might be. And he's naturally just like using the environment and the world around him to communicate these big truths about the kingdom of God. And it's the simplest little thing, and yet you can unpack it for hours and see all the different layers of meaning. So mustard seeds, we know, are itty bitty little tiny things, and they grow into these bushes that are like big, and birds can nest in them, and and it's just like this image that becomes one way of understanding what the kingdom of God is like.
So when you say like that, Jesus taking average, normal, everyday things. So this literally happened a few weeks ago. Bobby and I were at a concert, the Dixie Chicks, now just known as the Chicks. They've dropped the Dixie, probably a good move. Yeah. Now just the Chicks. And it's the first large concert we've been to since like pandemic times.
Okay.
And we were in the kind of the grass seats. It's a perfect summer evening. Like, I don't know how many people the venue holds, maybe 20,000. People everywhere, everyone's singing,
Were you singing?
I was singing.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Like I'm like, that's one like kind of thing I kind of like have snuck its way into my life since meeting Bobby and being married. So like way long ago. And it's not like my top 10 or anything, but there's still something, I love live music and I love and I said to Bobby, I said, you know what, the kingdom of God is like a concert on a summer evening. Because there's something that hit me in the moment where everyone was just so happy to be there. It was like a beautiful night, sun going down, everyone's singing together. And there's something like so deeply beautiful and human about moments like that. Yeah. So when you said that, I'm like,
love that.
Bobby and I literally just talked about this.
That's so cool, yeah. And it's something that just resonates where on one hand you can unpack it and go deeper, and there's levels of mystery where it's like, well, how can that be?
Yeah.
But at the same time, immediately you're kind of like, oh yeah, like it just resonates, like there's a realness to it.
Yes.
I love that.
What I love about the story is thinking that it started small, itty bitty. It wasn't like a masses of 50,000 to start a movement or something significant. It was itty bitty. And if you're looking at like the kingdom and you're looking at, Jesus' followers, his disciples with a few women started this movement that changed the world, right? Like small into something big where birds could come and get shade, where there's protection and care and food and safety and holding space for a place for people to come. So I think that's really beautiful because sometimes I think we make things be big. The bigger the better, all the right people, all the right things in place. But with this, when I think kingdom, when I think about multiplication for reunion, when I think about us, it's like, it starts with some small committed people that really want to love God and love people well. and then see it grow into something that provides, safety and care and shade from the heat. That's a beautiful picture for me of what I want to be a part of within community.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that picture.
Yeah.
I love that we intentionally phrased it around multiplication, around healthy growth, expansion, but still embracing relationship. I think because in that, the idea of multiplication is like something other than yourself. It continues to grow rather than saying, how do I make my number the biggest it can possibly be?
Yeah.
So it may seem subtle, but to me, in my thinking, in that it's about allowing new things to be planted and to grow. And in that also, I mean, I'm not a huge gardener. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But everything has like lifespans and seasons. And sometimes in the church, we plant things and it works, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes things last for a certain period of time. And we've even experienced that in our network. We still celebrate that season of life, of God was doing in it, the way it provided safety and shelter for people to find and experience Jesus. And then some maybe, then that's kind of been its lifespan, right? But we still celebrate this movement, this growth, and I like that Jesus uses agrarian illustrations because his audience would understand them, but also it speaks to life and growth and movement and change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that always grabs me too here is like Jesus could use anything, and he does, even in this like short, if you expand beyond just this short section, there's other comparisons to what the kingdom of God could be like. And I love that it's so diverse. It's not one thing, it's multi-dimensional. But what I really want to highlight, and that stood out to me, is he says, what should we say the kingdom of God is like? Or what parable should we use to describe it? And he says that it's like the seed. Like we often jump to the bush, like because it's so beautiful, like, oh, it's a bush and it can grow and multiply and birds can nest in its shade.
Big,
It's worked.
It's worked. But really, it's the seed. Like it's the tiniest little seed. And even to what you were saying there, Matt, like we talk about all the time, like, well, we're scattering seed, or we're planting the seed of an idea or the seed of something in someone's mind, whether it's with church or anything else, right? I just wanted to plant the seed.
Right.
Maybe you could consider this. And, we all maybe have like a garden drawer or something where there's those little packets of seeds, and we know that they're nothing. They're latent, but they're full of potential. Like they're just sitting there, but they're not doing anything in the drawer or in the seed packet.
Yeah.
But given the right conditions, the right attention, planted in the ground, it can become something. And so I love thinking about it that way, that the kingdom of God is really like unfettered potential
Oh, I love that.
to do something with the
Yeah.
right conditions and the right, people tending to it and actioning it. But it's like, it's potent, like it's ready to do something, but there's some steps that are required. And I love that Jesus draws our attention to the fact that it's like the seed.
That's really good. I didn't think about that, because when you look at the seed, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like it just sits there and you're like, oh. And some people can see the potential and others are just like, it's a seed.
And it's a tiny little one.
And I'll be honest with you, I've gotten seeds at weddings as a gift and I've thrown them away. Because
Plant a tree of our love.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm like, too much work.
Yeah.
These don't look like anything. They don't look like anything like the picture
yes.
of the lilies or whatever they're going to be. It seems so much work, and
Yeah.
I throw
Yeah.
them out.
Right.
But when you're saying that, Dean, that's I love that you just. Now I'm outing the person who gave them to me at
Yeah.
the wedding.
Yeah,
They're like, oh,
seriously.
Melinda never planted.
Anyone who
seeds.
knows you, that you've been to their wedding,
How's the
watching this, are like,
rosebud doing, Melinda?
Oh, great. Yeah. But I think that's really great that the potential, when you look at the seed, is there. The tiny little itty bitty
What
seed.
it needs.
What it needs. Yeah. That's good.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that they can be leveraged or not. Like again, we talked about choice and all this, and it's like you can plant them or you cannot, and it doesn't change what the seed is. But what we do with it can ultimately like create more and abundance and all of this. And I just love that there's a freedom in that, and there is that attention of like, yes, but this tiny thing is what the kingdom is like in one way. I love it.
When our kids were younger, we used to make up stories all the time at bedtime. So we would say, pick a character, pick a setting, whatever. We'd get them to give us some info, and then we'd just make up random stories, right? And it was always really fun. At the end of this, where it says, Jesus used many similar stories to illustrate and teach people. In fact, he never taught without using parables. He was always recognizing what was going around, drawing from it, and helping to explain the kingdom of God. It's actually quite inspiring to me to think, how do we tell the story of Jesus in a way that makes sense? And use our imagination.
Yes.
Use what's available to us. Inspire people. Like, we're not telling a little kid's bedtime story, but in some ways we're telling It's not a complicated story he just told them, but he's helping them to understand and connect dots. And I'm like, we need to be storytellers. Yeah. We need to tell the stories of Jesus like this, but also have freedom to say, hey, you want to kind of know what Jesus is like, or what following Jesus in community is like, or it's like this, it's like that, which they can understand and relate to.
Yeah.
That feels like a good challenge to me.
Yeah. I think what I love too about this culture statement is that it's not just about multiplication, but it's continuing to embrace relationship.
Yeah.
And I've seen that within our own dinner church experience at Reunion. That was what it was about, is about being around in a circle, sharing story, eating, inviting people to the table, sharing story about our own stories, our lived experiences to help one another. And I get how important that is. I think that in a time now where so many people feel isolated and alone and, overworked and stressed out, it is so much more important now to be, embracing relationships and bringing people in and sharing story and eating together and then leading people towards Jesus. I think that's what, I love that this is the last culture statement, because I think it's that outward kind of action out as we multiply, but it's also this sort of inward, in our home, in our space, continually doing the hard, and it's hard work to embrace relationship, to be in each other's space and hold it and live through hard things. But that's why I believe I'm here. I believe that why I've kept following Jesus is a lot to do with people embracing me in relationship, to see the potential, to keep cheering me on, to be a champion of me. And I think that's where then, for me, it's like, that's what I want to do. Yeah. It's the kind of woman I want to be to next generation or within my own community. And so I love that, seeing the potential in the small things. What a perfect space to do that.
Yeah. And the existence of the thing, the church, or the expression, or whatever it is, the bush that has grown out of the seed. I love that, like, the purpose of a mustard bush or any tree is not to give birds a place to rest or to find shade, but it is one of the functions of it.
Right.
But it's not really the purpose of it.
Right.
And I love that even within that, like, Jesus highlights this parable to show us what the kingdom of God is like, and kind of the ways beyond even what we can imagine or what we would think would be the function and purpose of the kingdom. Like, he's showing us that in even new ways, in ways that you haven't thought of, like, this is how it will function and be helpful for people, creatures, creation. Right. Like, it kind of covers it all, right? Like, and I love that, again, within that is kind of this surprise of, we don't even know what it's going to be able to do, or we can't say, oh, the kingdom will be like this, and therefore we'll have, like, lots of mustard. Like, that's not even what's important. It's like this thing that is being created and we're invited to cultivate is going to have far-reaching effects and benefits in ways that we don't even see yet. So it is just so hopeful and encouraging, and the opportunity for growth can be numerically enlarged, but it can also just be like growing in ways that we have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that honestly is one of the things around Dinner Church too for us, is that we are planting a new seed to see what will happen. Recognizing we're trying to equip and empower and provide resources for people who are like, we have friends and we want to have conversations about Jesus. And this is hopefully what we're doing is a tool you can use to tell the story of Jesus in an experimental way. We're not sure where this all goes. Mel, I know you've had a great experience with your Dinner Church, and there's more that are popping up all the time. And so we're so excited about that, the chance to work together, to learn from each other, to plant new kind of little seeds where people can come and experience and understand who Jesus is. And so wherever this finds you, I know we're wrapping up this series on our culture statements, and we've worked through the 6 things that give us as a network definition. Just so you know, there are some churches in our network that would look very much like a regular church that you would walk into. Weekend services, small groups in the week, and those are all, that's wonderful. And they own and kind of live out of our culture in their context. And we have others that are just simply dinner churches, and they would say we are a legitimate expression of the kingdom of God, an outpost of the kingdom, where we're welcoming people on a Thursday night in whatever city, name it. And all that is beautiful, and all that is church together. And so we just want to say, however this can help you, and if you have feedback or thoughts, please let us know. We believe these culture statements help give us an imagination and a picture of what, not only what life together looks like now, but also what we're heading and working towards. They're aspirational and they're personal and also corporate. There's so many layers to these things. But as you're doing it, as you're planting and pioneering and trying new things, we just are so thankful that we're on this adventure together. That's how it feels, like we're all doing this. And the reunion story started as a little bit of an idea that was planted, and we're not sure how long it goes, but we want to be faithful to steward it as best we can. And so you are a part of our journey together. And so, yeah, however we can serve and help, thank you for being a part of this family, broader family together. Peace and blessings to you, and we will chat more down the line. See ya.